Welcome to the Executive Protection and Secure Transportation Podcast, brought to you by the International Security Driver Association. The ISDA is a valuable resource for all practitioners working in the protection profession. We offer benchmark educational, networking, and marketing programs. Hello, and welcome to episode 160 of the EPST podcast. I'm your host, Larry Snow. The topic for this week's episode is Understanding Oversteer and Understeer. Understeer and oversteer are terms used to explain vehicle characteristics, and they are important signals transmitted to you by the vehicle. It is how the vehicle communicates to you. It is the vehicle's way of telling you what you should do next. In a nutshell, understeer and oversteer are the interrelationships of the front and rear ends of the vehicle. To get a clear understanding of understeer and oversteer, a basic discussion of the laws of physics is required. When you turn the steering wheel, there is energy pushing on the center of gravity of your vehicle. The amount of energy, which can be measured in G's or pounds, is determined by how much you move the steering wheel and how fast you're traveling. The more speed and the more steering, the more energy pushing on the vehicle. Remember, from high school, for every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. So, if there's a force pushing on the center of gravity of your vehicle, there has to be an equal and opposite force pushing back. That force pushing back is created by the friction your tires make with the road. If you drove around a corner or made an emergency maneuver that created 3,200 pounds pushing on the center of gravity of your vehicle, in the perfect world, your tires would be pushing back 1,600 pounds front and rear. This would be called neutral steering, and it is a characteristic seldom found in vehicles. But what happens most often is that the vehicle will either oversteer or understeer. The following explanations of understeer and oversteer are at the basic level. Also note, in these demonstrations and explanations, the vehicles do not use electronic stability control. Understeer. In a turn or emergency maneuver, understeer is the condition where the front tires lose adhesion while the rear tires remain in contact with the pavement. The car tends to travel straight ahead even though you are turning the wheel. Using our example, the front tires can only push back with 1,000 pounds, and the back tires push back with 1,600 pounds. You can't learn to correct under and oversteer by reading a book or article. But we'll give it a shot here in this podcast, keeping in mind that this is a basic explanation as you can get. In an understeering condition, turning the steering wheel won't work and will aggravate the scenario. To fix it, reduce speed and reduce the amount of the steering wheel that is turned. You can't correct understeer by reducing throttle until the front tires regain adhesion. Oversteer. In a turn or emergency maneuver, oversteer is the condition where your rear tires lose adhesion while your front tires remain in contact with the pavement. The back end of the car tends to slide out. Turning the steering wheel more will make things worse. In our example, the rear tires can push back with only 1,000 pounds, and the front tires push back with 1,600 pounds. Just to repeat, you can't learn to correct understeer and oversteer by reading a book or article. To fix oversteer, reduce the speed and turn the steering wheel in the opposite direction of the skid. By far, one of the most difficult situations to correct is something called power oversteer. An example of power oversteer is you're in a pursuit or, for whatever reason, driving fast around a corner. As you exit the corner, you apply the gas, and the back of the vehicle starts to swing out. The back of the vehicle is swinging out because you have too much gas and the back tires are losing adhesion. To correct the problem, you either have to steer less or give it less gas. Also, there is another form of oversteer that is called trailing throttle oversteer, which means that as you steer, either to drive around a corner or an emergency maneuver and take your foot off the gas, the back end of the car swings out. trailing throttle oversteer is due to the back tires doing funky things when you transfer weight from the rear to the front. You can correct trailing throttle oversteer by smoothly increasing the throttle to transfer the weight to the rear tires and apply steering to counter the rotation. So what is dangerous understeer or oversteer? Although understeer and oversteer can both cause loss of control, many cars are designed to understeer, and it is believed by car designers that understeer is easier to control. In fact, almost all cars you drive have understeer built into them. From a driving standpoint, what is hard to do and considered by many to be a dangerous characteristic is a vehicle that goes quickly from understeer to oversteer or vice versa. You hear it often when watching a NASCAR event. They will say that the car was tight, understeer, entering the corner, and loose, oversteer, coming out. This condition is one of the very few that will cause a NASCAR driver to slow down. That will bring us to the end of another episode of the EPST podcast. I hope you'll join us next week for another episode. Show notes for this episode are available at the securitydriver.com website. If you enjoyed this week's podcast episode, we invite you to check out the International Security Driver Association. Get access to the Encyclopedia of Executive Protection and Secure Transportation, the ISDA Knowledge Center. The knowledge shared encompasses a wide range of executive protection and secure transportation focused topics with resources, information, and metrics. For more information on all of the member benefits, head on over to isdacenter.org.